Credit can be a great financial tool when used wisely. But how do you actually benefit from credit if you have very little to no credit history? Stay tuned to find out, because in today's video, we're discussing how to build your credit. Hi, it's Shama from Happy Living Now, where we share everything money, lifestyle, and living a happy and rich life. Alright guys, so in today's video, we're discussing how to actually build your credit. Now, I'm pretty sure maybe if you are someone who have used credit or you're pretty familiar with credit, you might have had the experience where you've tried to obtain a loan or some other form of credit only to be denied because you probably had a very thin credit file or maybe no credit at all. So in today's video, we're discussing how you can actually build your credit file if you have little to no credit at all. Using these tips that we're going to share in this video will definitely help you to build that credit. So let's go ahead and get right in. Now, it's important to remember that credit is important in finances. It has become such a huge part of personal finance. And so, obviously the type of credit history you have will determine whether or not you have a positive or a negative credit experience. So we're going to focus on building your credit in two ways: how you can build your credit with credit cards and without credit cards. Okay, so the first step is, of course, you can build your credit with credit cards, and that applies to the points that we're about to talk about. They could apply if you're someone who has no history at all. That means you're building credit from scratch. So if you have no credit and you're building credit from scratch, of course you can definitely use regular credit cards. I mean, when I first got my credit card at I think 18 years old, I got my credit card because I started getting pre-qualification letters in the mail from credit card companies, and I got quite a few of those letters. And then one day I just decided to call up one of the companies and see if I could in fact get a regular credit card, and I did. So that's one place to start. I mean, if you are someone who keeps getting pre-qualification letters in the mail, call up the creditor, find out, give them the information that they're requesting, and most times, of course, you might not even be qualified for the amount that they probably mentioned in the pre-qualification letter, but chances are you will get some form of credit. Now, if a regular credit card is not going to work, one way is to get a secured credit card. Now, a secured credit card is where you personally put up your own money, and that money is used as a credit card limit. So let's say you're putting up $300 of your own money, and then you're getting a card from a creditor, and so your credit limit on that card is $300. Now, understand that the secured credit card is going to be connected to your own personal bank account. And so sometimes the limit on that could actually be the full amount in the bank account, but most times it's a percentage of the money in the bank account or whatever you've agreed to put up. Again, like I said, if you might decide to put up a $300 towards the card, and that is used as your credit limit. That's the only area in which a secured credit card differs from a regular credit card, is that you're putting up your own money and that money is being used as a credit card limit. But other than that, you can use a secured credit card just as a regular credit card. Of course, remember, you have a certain limit, so you want to make sure that your outstanding balance on that card is at least a third of whatever your limit is, or zero, as often as you can. And then just remember to keep making your payments on time. Eventually, though, the creditor may actually convert that secured credit card to a regular card after a certain time period. Now, the other way that you can build credit if you're starting from scratch, or that also applies if you have a very thin credit file, is to be added as an authorized user on somebody else's account. So you can go the authorized user route, or you could do a joint account holder. So with the authorized user, you have someone who is adding you as an authorized user. The person has a credit card account, and they call up the creditor and ask that you be added on to their account as an authorized user. Now, whether or not you decide to use the account, that's going to be between you and whomever the credit card holder is. And of course, you want to make sure that it's someone, that has good credit history. So whomever it is adding you as an authorized user, make sure that you're going to benefit from the perks of their good credit history. The other way is to be a joint account holder, which means you've You open an account jointly with someone else. Obviously, that differs from being an authorized user in the sense that when you're an authorized user on someone's card or someone's credit account, you are not personally liable for paying back the charges on that account. So yes, you're benefiting from that person's good credit, and of course, unfortunately, if they do eventually wind up having bad credit, that's going to reflect on yours as well. But when it comes to being responsible for the payment of that account, you are not. If you open a joint account with someone, you and the other person are just as equally liable and responsible for paying that account. So if either one of you decide not to pay it, unfortunately, the other person is going to either benefit or not benefit from whatever action the other account holder does. And of course, they will benefit, both people will benefit positively, and both people will also get negative impacts as well, depending on what either person does as far as the account is concerned. Now, obviously, if you are an authorized user on the account, you want to make sure that that information is actually going to be reported on your credit. And one way to find that out is if the credit card company requires personally identifying information. So maybe like a social security number, that they require your social security number. That's one way that you know for sure that that information may be reported on your own credit. If they don't require any type of information other than your name, there's really no way of really identifying you personally, and so most likely that information may not be reported. Now, if you have little credit, like a thin credit file, or your credit is like mostly negative, then you can also apply for credit cards, but you may want to start applying for credit cards with low limits. Okay, because your chances of applying for credit with huge balances or huge credit amounts may be low. Of course, if you're maybe applying for credit for an item that's huge, you may want to consider maybe saving up a big amount for a down payment, so that way it reduces the amount of loan that you might need to finance. If you do have a card with small or low limit, of course the same applies. Make sure that you're using less than 30% of your credit card limit. I would recommend that you make small charges to the account, charges that you know for sure that you'll be able to pay off in full every month. So maybe things like groceries, your phone bill, maybe gas. Not too many charges to the account, maybe one or two that you know are fairly minimal and that you will have no problems paying off that charge in full every month. Of course, another way to actually increase your credit history is to seek credit limit increase. If you are not able to obtain credit cards, then maybe if you do already have credit, you want to contact whoever your creditors are and actually request that they increase your credit limit. Creditors would usually increase those on their own accord if you do make payments on time, and you can also request that they increase that limit. Now, I recently did a video on how to actually increase your credit score, so definitely go ahead and check it. If you've not yet checked it out, definitely make sure you check it out. It's linked up in the cards here and down in the description box below as well. Also, the other positive for increasing your credit limit if you're not able to get a credit card is, of course, your utilization ratio is impacted most times positively. So credit limits increases can also help. You don't always have to go and get a new card to try to increase or build credit. If you already have credit, you can actually definitely request for a credit limit increase, and that will actually improve your credit score in return, because then your credit utilization drops because you now have a greater amount to kind of calculate that on. I hope that made sense. All right, so we've talked about how to build your credit with credit cards. Now we're going to talk about how to build your credit without using credit cards. But before we get to talking about those points, I'm going to interrupt you right now, and I'm going to ask you that if you've enjoyed the content of this video so far, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and definitely don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on my next upload. Alright guys, so let's talk about how to increase or how to build your credit without the use of credit cards. Now remember, credit cards are not the only way to build credit, and credit cards are definitely not the only things reported on your credit report. As long as you have any form of credit, those will definitely be reported on your credit report. Other ways to build your credit without the use of credit cards, think student loans. If you're someone who has student loans, then that's probably being reported on your credit report. I'm pretty sure it is. And so you want to make sure to build credit through use of student loans. Now, hold up, disclaimer, I'm not saying that in order to build your credit you gotta go out and take out a student loan. That's not what I'm saying. If you don't need to take out a student loan, definitely do not take out a student loan. But what I am saying is, if you are someone who already has student loans, then you don't need to build your credit with credit cards. Just consistently pay your student loans every month, whatever is due. Make those payments, maybe make more than whatever is due. Keep doing those consistently when they're due each month, and eventually that will build a payment history that you make reliable payments, and that will build your credit over time. Of course, the next way to build your credit without any credit cards is by getting installment loans. Now, installment loans, we're talking about things like auto loans, a mortgage, any type of loan that has a fixed payment amount from month to month. That means the payment doesn't really change. It's the same amount from month to month, like your mortgage or your car payment. That's another way you can build credit, by using installment loans. Now, of course, if you have a very thin credit file or no credit history at all, it may be a little bit difficult to now get extended credit for an auto loan, a personal loan, or a mortgage. And so you may find yourself in a situation where you might actually need a co-signer for that type of loan. But although a co-signer can help you find a loan, do not get the co-signer just with the intention of, I don't pay it, I have someone else to pay it. Use the co-signer as a benefit or just a tactic to help you get that loan, but in the end, definitely make sure that you are being responsible with that type of credit and that you are making payments on time. Of course, again, if you have a very thin credit file or no credit history at all, most times what happens is your payment terms and your rates for the credit is less than favorable. You might have higher interest rates and the payment terms are not that favorable. So I would recommend shopping around for the best deals and going with the best deal that you can find on those type of loans. And again, minimize the amount to be financed. So if it means maybe trying to come up with a bigger down payment on that car or the mortgage, so that way it reduces the amount that you have to finance and take credit for, I would recommend that you do that. The next way to build credit without credit cards is consider things like secured loans or credit builder loans. And those work in the same way like a secured credit card. For our credit builder loans, most banks and credit unions do offer those, but how they work is that you deposit money into an interest-bearing account, and that money that you've deposited into that account serves as collateral in case you do not pay the loan. Now, another way that's now getting to be well known is to consider asking for credit when it comes to making your payments on your phone bills or utility bill payments or even your rent. Typically, those things are not reported on your credit report. Rent may be reported to the extent that, let's say, in the event that you probably have some type of eviction or you're being sued for outstanding arrears on rent, then that will be reported. Now, one way you can actually have your rent and utility payments and phone payments be reported on your credit report is by making use of Experian Boost. Hashtag not sponsored, but Experian has this product that they now offer called Experian Boost that you can link up to your bank account. So be actually aware that you have to agree to have that Experian Boost have access to your bank account, and it has to be the account that you actually use to make payments on your utility bills, phone payments, or rent. They're going to use the data from that linked bank account and then reflect that payment on your credit report. That in turn helps you build positive credit history. And again, this video is not sponsored, but hey, maybe Experian should consider sponsoring one of these videos. All right, so we've talked about tips on how to build your credit. I imagine if you are watching this video, then you are interested in building your credit, and you also know that there are a few perks to having credit as well. A good credit score can actually help you obtain other credit cards or other loans. It could help you improve your lifestyle through purchases that you could only do with credit. It increases your ability to get certain services like renting a car or even purchase protection against fraud, or it could serve as helping you, as a resource for unexpected emergencies. But of course, just as there are benefits to having credit, there are also risks associated with credit as well. And if you manage credit poorly, that could land you in a world of debt. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the content of this video. If you have any comments or questions, definitely go ahead and leave them down below. Let me know if you have used any of those tips to build credit. And hey guys, I am actually looking for some new content ideas. So if you have any video suggestions, definitely go ahead and leave them down below as well. Go ahead and check out the videos that are popping up on the screen right here in case you've not seen them yet. Check them out. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, live happy, live rich, and be blessed. Bye guys.